and I'll share with you guys the book, and you can kind of see here. But there is one particular story in here that I think you guys might find fascinating.
Welcome, everybody. You've reached Keston's Old School Comic Books, and we have a very special guest today. This is Yaniv, also known as Stray Flexin. And talking about flexing, I met Yaniv a couple months ago, and he picked me up in this outrageous car. So if he's got this outrageous car, you can imagine what kind of outrageous stories he has. And this is a story for the ages. He found a very special book in a very unusual place. Yaniv, great to have you.
Thanks so much for having me, Keston. I really appreciate it. This is exciting. This is my first time officially sharing this story outside of a few friends that I've told, so it's quite a doozy. So I was just scrolling through Facebook one night, and I saw this post about a bound volume book, and I love bound volume books because they're just so cool. The fact that people, these kids at the time, I guess, took the time to put all these comics together, and you never know what you might find in them. There could be some real gems there, and they've been preserved through the bound volume. A lot of times the covers have really nice gloss to them. Sometimes they're trimmed just to kind of fit inside the book, but a lot of fun. And again, you never know what you could find. It's kind of like a little treasure hunt. And so it was a bound volume of Marvel books, and I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting, from the 60s. And the person was actually from out of the States. It was from a different country. It was from Vietnam. And it was very fascinating to see them having a lot of those books. They were saying that a lot of the comics that they got from America were either bought, from the soldiers, or given them as gift from American soldiers that went over during the war. And a lot of that stuff got destroyed after, because after America's influence left, Vietnam didn't want to have anything to do with American propaganda, and so the comic books were seen as such. So from what this person told me, is that he tried to save all these books in a bound volume to kind of protect them and to keep them mostly hidden from prying eyes. I'll share with you guys the book, and you can kind of see here. So here it is. It's just looks, pretty unsuspicious on the outside there. And then as I open it, you'll see there's a bunch of older comics inside. And they range from Silver Age to Bronze Age as well. But there's some Spider-Mans there. A lot of very well-loved comics, as you can see here. But there's one particular story in here that I think you guys might find fascinating, to find one of these out of Vietnam, and that is an Amazing Fantasy 15. Now, this is an original American Amazing Fantasy 15. It is complete. It is definitely well loved. Apparently, he did like Spider-Man. There's quite a few Spider-Man stories in here, but I just wanted to share that with you, because to find Amazing Fantasy 15 out of Vietnam was a pretty crazy experience. And then also speaking with him and trying to get this to the USA, because he was thinking about selling it, was another hassle that we went through. So that's there she is there. There's the origin of Spider-Man. Some of the pages are a little bit damaged, so I just have to be a little bit careful.
The most impressive part of the story to me is how you found this book and brought it back to the States. Can you share this with our community?
So I first found it, actually, believe it or not, through Facebook, which was surprising. And it was very difficult. Definitely not easy at all. It was quite a mission. It took me, from start to finish, from my first contact with him, about 6 months to actually get it in hand. And a lot of that was due to the international restrictions between shipping from Vietnam to the USA. The other thing was the language barrier, obviously. A lot of the English he had was translated, so we had to find a translator to kind of help us with that. The other part is getting a payment over to there, which they don't really have PayPal, or some of the stuff that we use here that's pretty normal that we're used to using wasn't available, at least for him, in Vietnam. So we had to find a way to safely get him the money that he feels comfortable, but that the book also arrives here, because I did trust him, and I had no fear of him sending me the book. But it's also, what if it gets stuck at customs? What if they don't want to ship it? There's all kinds of issues that arose because of that. So I ended up speaking to some family friends of mine who were Vietnamese, and that lady was offering to help, because she actually visits her mom in Vietnam. So she was, planning to go there in a few months. So we all set up like a little, Zoom call like this, and we were all chatting on the phone, and we set it up, and then we're getting so close. We're like, okay, this is gonna be easy. She's gonna go meet him. I'm gonna pay her. She's gonna give him the money. She's gonna pick the book from him and deliver it back to me, and it'll be super easy. And then I find out that even though obviously being naive, I'm like, oh, they're both in Vietnam. It's gonna be fine, right? It's like, oh, they're both in the U.S. Oh, they're both in Canada, right? It's a small country, right? No, so they were like 6 hours train away, so they were very far from each other. So it's like, oh, another hurdle to kind of pass. But we spoke more. He really wanted to get the book into the hands of a collector. That's part of what he was first saying when he was showing off the book on Facebook. I guess he did some research and he found like an Amazing Fantasy 15 group on Facebook, and that's where he shared his story. He shared photos of himself and the whole story, and it's like pretty incredible to read. So he was eager on getting it done. So thanks to that, we actually arranged him taking a 6 hour train ride to meet her. We're able to get that done, and then she was able to bring that over when she flew back, and I was able to pick it up in person. So it was quite a journey to finally get it, but we have it here.
Is it a book that you would ever sell, or does it mean too much to you now?
I think it's one of those where it's kind of hard to sell, not necessarily just because it's an AF-15. I think AF-15 is an incredible book by in and of itself, but especially this copy with the history, with being found in Vietnam, with a lot of that stuff, being destroyed, any of the American influence in comic books and pop culture magazines that were brought over during the war would have just been gotten rid of, and none of this would have been shipped to there. So outside of the GIs and whoever brought them over, you would really not find any of the stuff there, let alone a book of that caliber, out of all the comic books that they could have had and that could have survived and been kept in a bound volume. An AF-15 is pretty special, I'd say. It's probably one of the greatest Silver Age books of all time. So I think given the provenance, it definitely makes it tough to let go for sure.
If you enjoyed Yaniv's story, you're going to love the next one. I talked to the grandson of a WW2 vet who had stored a collection of valuable Golden Age comic books in his attic. You'll be amazed by the books he had up there. Thanks so much for watching, my friends, and I hope to see you around real soon.